ta nazingo so ikudo hona hot eta be nada niesto le kunka be nada hat dependo le kunka drought hat no da ba yada ti kunka to dastin it nada tot atin de ya no da ba yada ti ka kot egende so e passa itza le to passa ta hotza le ka kot ego ikudo njenna is kan le to kodon chego ikudo Hanana seat or this halat and il toy kudo na some kind of die kudon hit citizens and in the kutego kudo Bislani cleaner we saiki did basically neka who conquered and hit and line baby nashikudo and that has a baby baba yale ki company hit sealed or this other Congress committee members and lean it oh usually you need ego ne data hadita God multiple chapters that we represent God out of conquer different programs that we oversee out of budget and leaning to be Bayana 2023 budget at no the con Belanel and Adokodo and that has a competition not the hot sort or late co. Quite a base of that then the quite a base of on and hit it no the Kodo Behata Itzi. I don't hit Nan Lini the conquered based on Lini, you don't hit in the Halieda Kodo. Yan Lini conquered at on. The Dale kid about Bohne and the Quaggy based on Hapka Nas Nation get it no the Ben Hitch yet that Tika or that aided art so I could on happy Hatalia or Liston happy Hatas need or listen get nan lean employees and lean. Ishing baby this other in his yesterday cook up a Babak Hawilia or Lesgard. Halan it asked for then have list of Codon hit I need I could need I could ask for echo asked for echo. Nahab Kahosla or Shine lead or Shake in Nashing it and Nigodit I could that lean bit of a kite I on it and Nena that neat lead on net out in Shika. I could eat ego so there's an lean it asked send the behas seat or less belah slab or hoslan. It asked for the shack and a sunstone or less in lean it as sure I could eat I could now can't lean in none and or less Lord Jesus God cook and blessing each and every one of my committee members, blessing each and every one of our staff. The initiate all the three branch government eat out the initiate I could do. Benani need a list of Benada seed need a list. Yet that's la nation even as it out Jesus Christ eat I could do. Jago, I can't not this need on and Hanana out of list in Jesus' name. Amen. Thank you, Chair.
Oh, Shana, thank you a lot for that prayer this morning. Invocation, Hainla, give Nachi. Out of announcements, Nana. Do we have any announcements, Mr. Tahi?
For Pro Tem Chair, members of RDC, at 10 o'clock today, there is a Navajo Anabi special session regarding the budget. Tomorrow at 8 a.m., we have our regular RDC meeting from 8 to 10. Following after RDC's regular meeting, NABI will continue its budget session from 10 to the close of the business. Then on Thursday, September 1st, we have our RDC leadership meeting with Intech out at Nanazad. Then on Friday, September 2nd, RDC has a leadership meeting with CKP Insurance and Department of Agriculture at Sadia Casino and Resort. That is my announcement. Pro Tem Chair, back to you.
Thank you, Mr. Tahi. Committee members, do we have any announcements? What? Twice gone. Okay, now we'll go on to recognizing guests and visiting officials. We'll start with Resource Development Committee members. Chairman, Shania.
Thank you. Yata Penashe recognizing she Homosan or Zay Kachin, Bashis Chain, Sanabitlis Cherokee on it. Untitled Chapters, Banashigate, Telecom, San Juan, and Hansa, Dole, Great East Toscado, East Deshkish. Thank you. Back to you, Pro Tem Chair.
Thank you, Shania. Mr. Yaja, Mr. Vice Chair Walker.
Yes, so Chair Pro Tem to get other committee members or his staff or the meeting participants on the Thomas Walker Jr. edition. The Banash and Shiki Hasen the liberal Hadawisto to the to on the link to Nana Ahsan to Tsako Hassan. Ego in Chiknas Uncle could Bishwan Sanya Hanacha Yaja Panashako. Otherwise, don't mention Shido being Petoni to the Genie Pashin. What's on the trade that it also the skill national. Echo, yeah.
Thank you, Shajai. Hello, Shana, Kiala.
Good morning, everyone. Kudos to Hanagan hit Nanslonki on Ada Sijab and it does a other this cheat need us another. Of course, last hand that they put the Shaggy Illuman, Kachip Gap, Salani, Cottonwood, Noslini, other mini farms. Chairman, back to you.
Thank you, Shana. Shana Herman.
Good morning. Could Pro Temp Chair, yeah, could also to Liaja. I think that could should say could also on the hand big each of it. Yeah, thank you. Could also that Herman Daniels Jr. He says I don't know, going to give it I mean the team that's there. Before he had Lenny doesn't say I don't has got law that's another or that even then Sakodo. I don't know Kodo Banas, that's okay, yeah. Not on or Z or Shant or a big can. Yeah, but you said down. Thank you.
Thank you, Shana. Shana, Mark Freeland.
Pro Tem Chair, Taliaji, good morning. Other Resource Development Committee members and staff. Shijay Mark Freeland this year. I don't know if I'm get Tony Sona Kiani. A bushes change and you can I have 8 chapters again out of Eastern Agency, Crown Point, Najiskish, Vicente, White Rock, Lake Valley, Herfano, I don't know yet. Thank you for that prayer. It really means a lot. Starting off with a beautiful prayer, so thank you, Shana. Honorable Kela McGay. Kela, Pro-Tem Chair, thank you.
Shana, thank you. Shane Wilson, Cesar Jr., Chet, Tell that Nasha, Aquadown. The question this morning. Batata Shagi, Tell, Halchi, Pons, Ilon, DJ. Out of 45th agency representation for the Resource Development Committee and the 24th Navajo Nation Council. What's up, Ni and Schlendo, Nanish, as Kachini, Passes Chin, Kachini, the Shado, people going the Chanela. Ako Arnold Soko. So, good morning, Doshana, for Akihat and Hustle in the Nana. Aro Gachi staff, Shin, Mr. Tahi.
Good morning, Pro Tem Chair. Those on the Zoom call, my name is Rodney Tahi. I'm the Legislative Advisor for Resource and Development Committee. I'm Kiani and Senja Kene, and I'm originally from Steamboat, Arizona. Back to you, Pro Tem Chair.
Hi, thank you. Shama, Ms. Khan, are you online with us this morning?
Oh, good morning. Yad Ed Neshik Yad Resources and Development Committee members, Donald Flinigi, Ado Yad Pro Tem Chair, She Mariana Khan, Dasha Jenna, Dona Enish Flinigi Tohi leaning, but Ahi Bashish Chin, Ashche Dasha Che, Senji Kena Dashanava, Akut Awa Sun Michelin, Ado Sodazen Behe Zigi. Thank you for starting us off so beautifully. Back to you, Mr. Pro Tem Chair. I will be listening.
Thank you, Shama. Mr. Mose.
Morning, everyone. Chair Leonard Mose, Twitter that Nasha Shishlong, Hanagani Bashish Chain, Ashi, the Shichida, Tuapan, the Shinale. Welcome, everybody. Have a good morning. Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mr. Mose. Speaker staff. Anybody online with us?
Yes, good morning. This is Joaquin Yates. Thank you, Pro Tem Chair. Good morning, RDC members and guests. My name is Joaquin Yates from the Office of the Speaker. I'm the Legislative Staff Assistant. Thank you very much. Everyone have a great meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Yates. President Staff, Dan Gishan. President's Office, Dan.
Good morning, Pro Temp Chair, Yat Ishiche. Members of Resource and Development Committee, Davis Filford from OPVP, Executive Staff Assistant. I'll be listening in. Thank you.
Question, Che. Thank you. Do we have any other colleagues of the 24th Nomination Council online with us this morning?
Yeah, thanks, Josh. This is Delegate Amber Kimaswakrati.
Question, Shema, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, thank you. Kia ani nishla do bilagana sakin people are saying the shit do the shamnale. Shay Amber Kimaswakrati. You know, hot with the not shot on the council I represent. Sheep Springs, Two Gray Hills, Tolina, Sonosti, Red Valley, Co, Gadiai, and Beklabato. So, beautiful Navajo citizens here in our home country and as they're serving abroad. Thank you very much, committee members.
Thank you, Shema, for joining us this morning. Aaron, do we have anybody else?
Eugene So.
Oh, Janella, go ahead.
You know, in leader, Council Guard, Tritini, but she's seen the Annie that she said what funny that she know the Senegate Chantikin, Nasal, all the ancient. We have over close to 2,000 votes this week in during the primary. So the aid Nabanasha in the thank you.
Question, Janella, thank you. Do we have anybody else? Shana, Mr. Papagay?
Yeah, been Pro Tem Chair, Cecilia, Honorable Wilson Stewart, the members of the Resource Development Committee, Eastern staff, the general public on the air, the Hana or the John Coffee Benation here that all arc. Shady Ateo Ea not Apanasha, Delegate Paul Begay, a Bishka Gate, Tanapan Sabatin, Koipi, Punaheli, Dorthe Chi, a Ade Shlapakanas, Libanasha, Tadish Gizin, the Enschlido be Petoni, but chain should trade to the Chini, Ned and Arokia on a Asian Eldabadishna. They go, yeah, the Nenschlido here, Totem, yeah.
Question, Shana, thank you, Ethel. Any of the colleagues online came in late? We'll go on down to divisions or departments. We'll start with N2A.
Good morning, everyone. This is Rex Kuntz, Deputy General Manager with N2A. We have a number of individuals online, so I'll let them introduce themselves.
Okay, Mr. Kuntz, thank you. Any other individuals from N2A?
Good morning, Chair. This is Monroe Keto from NTUA, part of the Business Development Group. Also in the room with me, I got Mr. William Murray. I'll let him introduce himself.
Hello, good morning, Chair. My name is Bill Murray, and I'm the brand new Deputy General Manager for Communications. So everything broadband, fiber, wireless, all of those items.
Thank you. We're happy to be part of this meeting this morning.
Wilson Stewart. This is Martin Ashley. I'm the Government Liaison for Navajo Tribal Utility Authority.
Question, John. Thank you. Anybody else?
Good morning, Pro Tem. My name is Brandon Bitsui. I'm an associate attorney with NTUA. Yeah.
Thank you, Ms. Ritsui. Do we have anybody else?
Good morning, Honorable. This is Rainey Nelson. I'm with NTUA. I'm the Associate Deputy GM.
Thank you, Ms. Nelson. Hey, anybody else?
Good morning, Honorable Stewart. My name is Robert Silva. I'm an associate attorney with NTUA.
Okay, Mr. Silva, thank you for joining us. Anybody else from NTUA?
Good morning. This is Neil Burrows, Communication Systems Manager for NTUA.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Rose.
Good morning. This is Tanya Yazi with NTUA.
Thank you, Ms. Yazi.
Good morning. This is Mustafa Ansari, NTUA Communications Program Manager.
Good morning, sir. Thank you. Is that everybody from NTUA? Mr. Kuntz?
Yeah, I believe that's it.
Okay, thank you, sir. Otto, anybody else online from the other divisions or departments?
Good morning, Pro Tem Chair, members of the committee. Jordan Oglesby Unishe, Tachi Nishle, Bilagana Bashichin, Deshchini Dashache do Bilagana Dashanale. My name is Jordan Oglesby, and I'm an attorney with the Department of Justice Economic Community Development Unit. Also on the line today from ECDU is Ms. Frances Schoberg. Thank you, Pro Tem Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Oglesby.
Pro Tem Chair, this is Douglas Capitan.
Oh, good morning. Go ahead.
This is Leonard Francisco with the Navajo Nation Fair Office.
Oh, good morning, Shania. Thank you.
Jag är Ben Chile.
Oh, good morning, Shania.
Mike Holona, jag är Ben to Pro Temp Chair and Vice Chairman of Resource Development Committee and everyone on the line this morning. Mike Holona, currently representing the Division of Natural Resources. Oh,
Shania, thank you for joining us this morning. Do we have anybody else?
Pro Tem Chair, I don't think you got me earlier, but this is Douglas Capitan with the Division of Economic Development.
Oh, go ahead, Mr. Capitan. Okay.
Leo Watchman, Department of Agriculture. Good morning, Mr. Chair, and also members of the committee.
Good morning, Mr. Watchman. Thank you for joining us.
Yate, and good morning. This is Tom Guthrie. I'm the CEO of ComNet Broadband. ComNet is the minority partner with NTUA and NTUA Wireless.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Mr. Guthrie. Do we have anybody else? Going once. Twice. Okay, thank you, everybody, for joining us this morning.
Good morning, Giselle Gibagay.
Wishing, go ahead. Introductions.
Yeah, thank you, Delegate Stewart. My name is Elmer Begay. I represent the Telecom in the Wells White Cone Inclusive Chapter. So, and members of the Budget and Finance Committee. Yeah, each and every one of you. Good morning, sir.
Oh, good morning, Shazah. Anybody else online? once, twice. Thank you again, everybody. Reviewing and approving our agenda for today. Mr. Tahi.
Pro Tem Chair, members of RDC, the proposed agenda reads as follows. Resource and Development Committee of the 24th Navajo Nation Council special meeting, Tuesday, August 30th, 2022, 8 a.m. Presiding, Honorable Ricky Nez, Chairperson. Honorable Thomas Walker Jr., Vice Chairperson. Location via telecommunication. 1. Call meeting to order, roll call, invocation, announcements. 2. Recognizing guests and visiting officials. 3. Reviewing and approving the agenda. 4. Reviewing and approving the journals. None. 5. Receiving reports. A. Report by the Department of Agriculture on the animal health requirements for the 2022 Navajo Nation Fair. B. Report by the Navajo Tribal Utility Authority on the cell towers built out on the Navajo Nation and the funds received from the CARES Act. 6. Old business. None. 7. New business. A. Legislation 0151-22. An action relating to the Resource and Development Committee, Budget and Finance, and the Navigate Committee, approving the Division of Economic Development's application for the State Small Business Credit Initiative under the Federal American Rescue Plan Act. Sponsor, Honorable Mark A. Freeland. Co-sponsor, Honorable Seth Damon. 8. Close the meeting, announcements, and adjournment. Pro Tem Chair, that is the agenda read into the record. Back to you.
Thank you, Mr. Tahi. Committee members, can we get a motion and second for our agenda?
Delegate Rick Nez, motion.
Thank you, Shania.
Second motion, Freeland.
Thank you, Shania. Do we have any changes?
Pro Tem Chair?
Mr. Tahi?
Pro Tem Chair, I received an email from NTUA requesting that their report be conducted in an executive session. The email that was communicated with me was shared also with Ms. Khan, so she's well aware of that. There's proprietary information, confidential information in the request for the executive session. I leave it up to the discretion of the Resource and Development Committee to make that decision whether they're going to enter into executive session on receiving reports B, and if that can be added to the amended to the agenda for executive session. Back to you, Pro Tem Chair.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Tahi. Committee members?
Chairman Kealan.
Oh, Shania Kealan.
We're talking about the executive session portion. I believe that we can provide some general information to the public. I believe some are on the line that want to listen in on the issues that we're dealing with. I don't know what's the best word in Navajo about executive session. Alad hidnan liniki bishan ini zenoyat ehn sato. Kobinachiko kodoshi dan hin hanan shlada what the committee members need liniki. If we could be able to provide a certain amount of information to the public about the progress of the cell tower and the telecommunication issue across the Navajo Nation, unless it's very, very technical to where competition, situation, information gets involved, which is understandable. Chairman, that's my statement comment.
Thank you. I believe we can go ahead and go that route with assistance of Mr. Kuntz and the staff from there, if that is allowable. Mr. Kuntz.
Thank you, Stuart. We have data in there. I mean, we'll have to be real careful about what we provide and what we show. The data is wrapped in a presentation, and there's some information in there that might be unsuitable for public.
I see.
But I'm going to let Martin Ashley is our government liaison, and he and Mr. Murray will be the leads on that. I do have to step away at 10. I have another commitment with another delegate in a regional meeting. But I don't know if Martin wants to make a comment or our legal, Mr. Silva.
Hello, Mr. Chair. This is Monroe Keto from NTUA. Mr. William Murray would like to comment on that, please. Mr. Murray.
Mr. Murray.
Hello. Yes, we'd actually like to present in executive session if possible, because there is some confidential information in the presentation.
Okay, we'll go ahead and keep it as is then. Thank you. Okay, with that, we'll go ahead and just keep that as executive session since it's wrapped in with the data that they want to share with us. And then we'll get other information for general info from the NTUA as well to share with our community members. Anything else on our agenda for changes other than the executive session? Is that okay, Shania Kef, Mr. Nez, Chairman Nez, and Shania Freeland?
Honorable Pro Tem Chair, this is Delegate Rick Nez. Since I have the motion for the main agenda approval here, I believe that NTUA should provide a report to leadership, as well as if there's sensitive information that they want to discuss after the report for people to hear, especially folks on the Navajo Nation that are waiting on a cell tower. They should hear what the holdup is from NTUA. Therefore, I believe NTUA should provide this report, as well as if there is sensitive information, as they say, then we can go into executive session after the report is heard by the public. So I will go ahead and hold the motion as is. And when we get to that section, they can give a report, and then we'll go into executive session on the portions that they feel is confidential and sensitive. Pro Tem Chair.
Chairman. Freno, Chairman Freeland, is that okay with you?
Abiga.
And question, Shania, thank you for that. So we'll go ahead and keep it as is for the NTUA report. If needed, we'll go into executive session at that time for Port B. Any other requests for our agenda this morning?
That's before they send it.
Can we go ahead, since we already have a motion and a second, can we go ahead and approve our agenda, Mr. Kahi?
Pro Tem Chair, yes. We just need to do the votes to accept the agenda.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and move forward then with that. So, Shania, Chairman Nez, how do you vote?
Delegate Rick Nez votes green.
Shajayaja, Vice Chair Walker.
Yes, Thomas Walker votes green.
Shania Key, Alan Begay.
Chairman Key, Alan votes green. Thank you.
Shania Herman Daniels.
I vote green.
Mark Freeland.
I vote green.
Thank you. With a vote of 5 in favor and 1 abstain, our agenda passes. Down to item number 4, reviewing and approving our journals. There are none. And then now moving down to
Pro Tem Chair.
Chairman.
Thank you. I would like to make a motion that we suspend the floor rules and go to new business at this time and entertain legislation 0151-22. This legislation needs to go over to Budget and Finance so they can also put it on their agenda. There's a deadline to this, so I would like to suspend the floor rules and go to new business at this time.
Question. So we're going to suspend the floor rules. Request for suspension of floor rules by Shania, Chairman. Do we have a second on that one?
Second motion, Freeland.
Second by Freeland. To suspend the floor rules. Mr. Tahi? Can we just move forward with that, or do we do a vote on that one too?
Pro Tem Chair, you need to vote on suspending the floor rules. You have a motion and a second. The motion was by Honorable Ricky Nez, and second was Honorable Mark Freeland.
Okay, we'll go ahead and go towards the vote then, Mr. Tahi. Thank you. So with that, we'll go back to our vote. Shania, Chairman, your vote.
Delegate Rick Nez, votes green.
Shizayeja Thomas Walker.
I vote green.
Question. Shania Key Allen.
Chairman Kell votes green. Thank you.
Shania Herman Daniels.
I vote green.
Shania Mark Freeland.
I vote green.
Question. With a vote of 5 in favor, 0 opposed, 1 abstain. We'll go to the suspension of floor rules to go to our new business, which is legislation number 10151-22. Mr. Tahi, your assistance, please.
Pro Tem Chair, I'm going to read the legislation into the record. You have legislation summary sheet tracking number 0151-22. Date August 23rd, 2022. Title of the resolution relating to the Resource and Development Committee, Budget and Finance, and the Navigate Committee, approving the Division of Economic Development's application for the State Small Business Credit Incentive under the Federal American Rescue Plan Act. Purpose: this resolution, if approved, will authorize DED to apply for the SSBCI and delegate administration of SSBCI program to third-party entities. Pro Tem Chair, members of RDC Navigate Committee has final authority over this legislation, which will be read into the record in its entirety. The primary sponsor of this legislation is Mark A. Freeland. The co-sponsor is Honorable Seth Damon. This is tracking number 0151-22. An action relating to Resource and Development Committee, Budget and Finance, and the Navigate Committee, approving the Division of Economic Development's application for the State Small Business Credit Initiative under the Federal American Rescue Plan Act. In Section 1 outlines the authority. In Section 2 lists the findings, which includes an Exhibit A and an Exhibit B. In Section 3 is the finding, which references Exhibit A. Attaches Exhibit A. It says Exhibit A, Navajo SSBCI program, Phase 1. You have Exhibit B, the U.S. Department of Treasury State Small Business Credit Initiative Allocation Agreement. Then you have the first report, the Navajo Nation Legislative Branch Internet Public Review Summary for legislation number 0151-22, sponsors Honorable Mark A. Freeland, an action relating to the Resource and Development Committee, Budget and Finance, and Navigate Committee, approving the Division of Economic Development's application for the State Small Business Credit Initiative under the Federal American Rescue Plan Act. This legislation was posted on August 23rd, 2022 at 5:03 p.m. The 5-day comment period ended August 28th, 2022. There was no comment supporting this legislation. There was no comments opposing this legislation. There was no comments or recommendation on this legislation. Pro Tem Chair, that is legislation number 0151-22 read into the record. Back to you, Pro Tem Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Tahi. Committee members, do we have a motion second?
Motion by Delegate Rick Nez.
Question, Chairman. Thank you.
Second, Daniel.
Second by Shana Herman Daniels. Thank you. Okay, committee members, do you have any questions, comments, presentation? Going once, twice. Okay. Hearing no comments or questions, we'll move forward with the vote. Shania, Chairman, how do you vote?
Delegate Rick Nez votes green.
Shajayaja, Vice Chair Walker,
Thomas Walker votes green. Thank you.
Shania Key Allen,
Chairman Kale votes green. Thank you.
Shania Herman Daniels,
Green. Green.
Christine, Shania Mark Freeland,
I vote green. I don't care long Santa.
so 5 in favor, 0 opposed, 1 abstain. Legislation will move forward. Okay, that closes out our new business. Thank you for the votes. Now back to receiving reports. First report, Mr. Tahi.
Pro Tem Chair, members of RDC, the first report under 5A is a report by the Department of Agriculture on the animal health requirements for the 2022 Navajo Nation Fair. The presenters are Leo Washman Jr., Department Manager for Department of Agriculture, Ferdinand Nota, Ranch and Eastern Land Management, Leonard Francisco, Navajo Nation Fair Office, and Hope Wilson, Department Manager for Department of Resource Enforcement. Back to you, Pro Tem Chair.
Okay, Mr. Tahi, thank you. Mr. Watchman and staff, are you online to provide your 20-minute report?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Basically this morning, in reference to what was requested, I believe Delegate Freeland had requested for some explanation or understanding what restrictions will be required during the Navajo Nation Fair event upcoming. At this point, the notice that went out basically was outlining what it's in code and had been out, and basically several years has gone by. These regulations or restrictions have been placed for events or throughout Navajo. I believe the Resource Enforcement Office, as well as Department of Ag with Sergeant Jim, just reaffirmed that during this upcoming event that there would be some restrictions regarding all livestock entering the grounds as well as travel on Navajo. Since that time, to my understanding, the restrictions have been reduced to hauling permits and coggin testing for horses. The other health papers and other things are necessary would apply, but basically the notice that went out restricting, I think, got a lot of pushback. However, just to reaffirm that it's within code and it's nothing new to any of these events. So I think there's a misperception out there. Essentially, if you are and have been hauling livestock to public events and gathering, these would apply. And it has been consistent with other events going back 5 to 6 years. So, but at this point, the hauling papers basically providing ownership, as well as the Coggins test is going to be required, and there'll be checkpoints at the locations of entering fairgrounds. And I believe it's not only Navajo Nation Fair, but also other fairs upcoming. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Include your presentation, Mr. Watchman and staff. Okay, moving forward, committee members, any questions, comments?
Freeland.
Oh,
Honorable
Shania.
Stewart, motion.
Oh, shoot. Thank you,
Second
Shania.
motion too.
Okay,
Second motion.
all right. Thank you, Shania. Okay. Now we'll go back to questions and comments. Shania, Mark Freeland.
Akela, Satila, Adot colleagues and staff. Adot Mr. Watchman and the Fair Board and Mr. Francisco, Mr. Nota, Ms. Wilson, all those on the call this morning. Thank you for that explanation, Leo. And yesterday there was a email that was sent to, I think, RDC from Ms. Khan as well, and was outlining some information from the Department of Justice. So I just got some messages from my area. Of course, we have a lot of contestants and who are concerned. And, you know, Mr. Watchman just explained it's not going to be as restrictive as the past, and definitely appreciate that. So I can definitely message that back to them. So knowing that there are requirements in the code, but definitely appreciate the explanation and putting forth that, and I'll be sure to relay that on to my area as well. And like I said, I was just getting some messages from contestants from my area. We get a lot of bulldoggers out in Crown Point, so some of them contacted me and asked me why are we having so much restrictions, and I said, well, let me go ahead and ask for an update then. But I guess maybe just a recommendation, if we could have some education or maybe an outreach to the public as well, just informing them of what these requirements are. And I think that way they'll get a better grasp and understanding of the importance of it, and, you know, making sure that they abide. The other thing is they're saying that all these contestants that come in for 4th of July too, are they held to the same requirements? And you know, just what you had mentioned, it does apply to all the other fairs. So I'm pretty sure to answer that question is probably a yes. But thank you, Mr. Watchman and your team, and for all that you guys do. And I look forward to this year's fair. Thank you, Shanta, Pro Tem.
Shania, thank you. Any other comments, questions, committee members? Shaja, Mr. Walker, can I hand you the gavel? I have a couple of comments.
Hakushi, diga. Chair Pro Tem, go ahead and proceed with your comments, Chia. Any members?
Committee members, Arunda, Mr. Watchman and staff, so this morning for the brief presentation on what is required. Livestock owners and the husband on what to have. Coggins that health certificates that Aquinda. My question goes back to in the email. I thought it says that there was that it was since 2006. Mr. Watchman, the staff that have been there for X number of years, the husband, that I've been a part of that event as well for a number of years. And I've always done the Coggins and health certificates. Never had to get a hauling permit. The horses were always microchipped. 4 years ago, when this came out to get hauling permit, I had to run around, look for a ranger Again, there was none. Got to the rodeo grounds 2 hours prior. Rangers were right there by the roadside between gates 8 and 9. I said, I don't have a hauling permit. They're microchipped. You need a hauling permit, you don't need. They're microchipped already, has my info on there. We don't have the tool for that, you don't need. Well, I need a hauling permit then. Pull off to the side, you don't need. There was already like 5 trailers right there. We were all waiting for hauling permits. I said, what's the holdup? One ranger came to me, oh, we ran out of books. The books are in that unit right there, but we don't have the key to that unit. We had to wait. And I've been getting calls, text messages, even from the vet clinic. Where are we supposed to send our clients that need a hauling permit? Where are the rangers? Or is there a location we can send them? Can we get a ranger here in Chinle to do the hauling permits? That's my question back. If this was going to be done, Miss Wilson, where is your schedule? We have the vet schedule of doctors, where their locations are. Same thing with that too. We have vets out there in the surrounding areas that are being yelled at by argumentative parents and individuals because they can't be seen to get their Coggins testing. We have staff in Chinle that are doing the best that they can to get these things out for our community members. The testing, because it takes anywhere from 3 to 5 days for those results to come back. Even longer, depending on where the test site is and when FedEx will pick up those results and send them back out to the clinics for these individuals to pick up. We have a junior rodeo starting on Monday. And right now we're at Tuesday. So what's going to happen to those? And then why is it that if this is already in place, why is it that we don't put this in place during the 4th of July? We don't have rangers sitting out there during the 4th of July. We have contestants coming from all over the place outside the reservation. We have PRCA livestock coming in outside the reservation that have gone from rodeo to rodeo. So why is it with this Navajo Nation? Yes, I understand there's a bigger event. There's more livestock. But these came out, what, about 2 weeks, 3 weeks ago? And people were posting them. Even I got it on, and I posted it on my Snapchat and my Instagram, the way I got it. So I put the word out there as much as I could, but still, there's individuals out there that are still having problems with that, getting the tests and getting hauling permits. So my question goes back to, where are the rangers at? Where is there a site? Is there a schedule that we're going to get to share with our community members to say this is where you can get a hauling permit? Years back when I was in high school, I could call Jay Irving, have him come up to my house and give me a hauling permit. That's the last time I had a hauling permit. And I said that 4 years ago too. Those are some concerns that I have with these policies in place right now. Thank you, Shasha.
Okay, thank you. Now we get Stewart. Department of Agriculture, you respond, as well as Ms. Hope Wilson. Respond to the comments and questions.
Leo Watcham of the Department of Agriculture. as mentioned before, as a part of the testimony, these are, I guess, requirements that had been in place for a number of years. At the, I guess, in terms of enforcing, has always been an issue or a challenge. But there's larger gatherings or larger events. I believe it's been consistent with resource enforcement had been stationed as more of a collaborative effort on trying to protect any kind of spread of disease. And when it comes to livestock or animal, that would be the area in which they had, I guess, assisted with the Navajo Nation Fair. However, in terms of when they're going to enforce that is really at the call of the DRE, but I believe it's year-round. Unless RDC would, entertain changing some of those codes, then maybe we could speak to that at another time. But at this point, that's what's in place, which we're following. In reference to the 4th of July, it's consistent within the rodeo atmosphere, I guess, environment that you have these papers in place. And they do travel state to state. Interstate travel, it requires some of the inspections, especially coming out of Texas or moving into California. And a lot of the movement during that time, there is a requirement. With the Navajo Nation, I guess it came down to whether we choose to see what the level, and that goes back to if there's this outbreak. At that time, there wasn't really notified outbreaks within some of the states or nearest gathering of livestock or rodeo or any kind of function. At this point, fall, every year there's usually something that outbreaks, and as a precautionary is how I understand it, that is where we're putting up I guess a checkpoint. Whether that schedule is out, I'm not sure at this point, but just to answer that as best I can as we move forward. But my years and 10 years since this was instituted, there's been high level of alert, and there's been moderate level of alert when it came to regulating and providing. So it's not out of the ordinary. It's been there. I also own livestock and have a hauling permit. I've had hauling permits, and that's a requirement. But one of the issues right now is a lot of folks do not have branded horses, and they use a chip. So either you can prove ownership is really I guess what is trying to be concluded when it comes to a hauling permit for the purpose. So if I could maybe defer, if Ms. Hope Wilson is on the line or a ranger is on the line, maybe I can defer to what the schedule would be and also further in the requirement, what is in code. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Watchman. Anyone from our resource enforcement on the call with us this morning?
Good morning. This
Do you have a follow-up question? Hello? Okay, hold on. So, resource enforcement, can you respond to Delegate Wilson Stewart's comments and questions, and then we'll go to Honorable Freeland.
is Director Wilson from Resource Enforcement. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Good morning, Chairman and other members of the RDC committee and other callers on the line. The hauling permit is available January 1st of every year. So if individuals need a hauling permit, they can contact the Department of Agriculture, and it's the deputy livestock inspectors who issue the hauling permits. The rangers don't do that, and it's been that way since May of 2020. That has occurred where the deputy livestock inspectors work with Sergeant Jim at Department of Agriculture, and they have issue hauling permits there. And as far as the Coggins test, it's valid for 1 year. So if last year in October of 2021 individuals have received a Coggins test, that test is still valid for issuing a hauling permit. And a lot of the contestants wait until the last minute to obtain this documentation. But like I said, they can obtain a hauling permit January 1st of every year, and that hauling permit is valid for the calendar year. So it would be valid until December 31st of every year. The only other additional requirement they would need is to have a current animal health certificate within 30 days. And as Mr. Watchman stated, that's lenient at this time, but should any outbreaks occur within neighboring states, counties, then it would become more stringent, where the requirement would be within 14 days. And this is a requirement all across the states, and including the Navajo Nation. So it's been in effect since 2006. They can contact Sergeant Jim for a hauling permit at Department of Agriculture. That information has been distributed. With the questions I have received at DRE, because we informed Mr. Francisco that if there's any questions that livestock owners have, they can call our office and we would clarify that for them. So based upon the questions I was receiving, I put together that frequently asked questions list as to, why we need a microchip, why do we need a hauling permit, where can we obtain, New Mexico entry permits, those kind of things. So we put that out there for distribution to the public. So if anyone calls and needs that information, we've been distributing it out, and also the list of veterinarians in the area that we had information for. And we've also distributed that information, our requirements, to the only veterinarian that contacted us was the Farmington Vet Services. And we provided them exactly what was needed for participants to meet those requirements. And these requirements come out from the vet clinic. So based upon kind of what we went through in 2019 and then this year, our suggestion from DRE was to have Department of Agriculture and the vet clinic work earlier in the year, I would say in January, letting individuals know what the animal health requirements are for 2023. That way they're aware of what needs to transpire, what information they need to have. But if they've already went through the checkpoints in 2019, like Delegate Stewart indicated, he had a microchip. So that's like a one-time fee. So all the individual would need to obtain this year is their current health certificate along with their hauling permit is all they would need to obtain, because the microchip stays with the animal, for the lifetime unless it's lost or taken out at that point. And as far as having microchip readers, we do have microchip readers here and we would be able to read the microchips, because we require a microchip because at the vet clinic, all testing that is conducted on animals is tracked with the microchip. So that's why that microchip was a requirement, because we did receive a question as to why do I need a microchip in my equine. But all of this is just related to, preventing animal diseases here on the Navajo Nation, because we don't have a quarantine facility. Should an outbreak occur, we would have to pay for decontamination of the fairgrounds should we have, a positive test case. And with a lot of these diseases, there is no cure. Either the livestock ends up in a permanent quarantine for the duration of their life, or they end up having to be euthanized. So it's all a preventive measure just to ensure that we don't have any animal diseases coming on to the reservation, and we don't have the capacity at this time to do that magnitude. Thank you. Those are my comments.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Wilson. Before I go to Honorable Freeland, let's get back to Delegate Stewart for additional comments or follow-ups. Honorable Stewart.
Oh, Shija, Mr. Watchman, though, Ms. Wilson, I thought, yeah, for your responses. However, as stated, we all know as livestock owners that compete and that go here every year, we know, and we do get our cognizance and health certificates every year. But the comments I said I've been getting are the hauling permit area portions of it. And these are comments that, that are coming in from the horse owners that are saying, I can't get a hauling permit. Where do I get these? Yes, it is a requirement, like I said, but like I said, I've never got one. My experience 4 years ago, I believe, Ms. Wilson, you were standing right there too at the time. And to find that out about the vehicle being locked with those in there. That's where we're at. And then is there an individual that Navajo Nation is putting in Chinle to help the vet clinic when they do these testing? Can they do the hauling permits right there for them as well? That would be the other one. Is there somebody there right now to do that? Because we all know we're running on time and to help our community members the best way that we know how. And that would be the end of my comments, Sujata. And then I'm getting ready to run towards Window Rock. Or drive, rather.
Thank you. Okay, Goshi. Ms. Wilson, can you respond to Honorable Wilson?
Thank you, Chairman. That would be a question for Mr. Watchman at Department of Agriculture. He oversees the deputy livestock inspectors, but I'm sure that arrangement can be made.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Watchman?
Conversing with our Sergeant Jim a few weeks back, we do have over 30 different deputy livestock inspectors throughout Navajo. And each and every Wednesday, probably the most available time is when they're at these inspection sites when people are reselling livestock at various points, say in Shiprock or in Indian Wells or here in Window Rock. Our office does have deputy livestock inspectors here at Agriculture. We have 3 or 4. They're here most of the time or daily, at least not one. We have been providing livestock hauling permits, since probably at upscale the past past 2 weeks. So again, there is an upswing with that. Hopefully, if anybody is concerned over that, we do have a number of livestock inspectors, and Sergeant Jim we could set up a location if necessary. I guess the message was, from my understanding, is that a livestock owner should know that this is required, and I believe they last a year long, and this includes recreational livestock. I mean, roping steers, bulls, horses, as well as rodeo livestock. So maybe it's more of education, and we will do what we can within the timeline we have to outreach and go and hopefully work with folks, livestock owners, on what's required on Navajo. When I say it's been there, and I guess I do apologize for not having a more of an upswing of educating our livestock owners. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Watchman. Ms. Wilson here. Honorable Freeland?
And just more of taking it a step further, have an additional concern related to our 4-Hers, and would this also apply to them as well? I have 2 active 4-H groups in my area, Hanukkah and Golden Spurs, and these kids work hard all year on preparing for this event. You have poultry, you have small animals, rabbit, you have, of course, cattle, and you also have horses and swine too. Aishan, how were those dealt with? And it's a little concerning because these little 4-Hers are they also held to the same standard as well? Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Honorable Freeland. Department of Agriculture and Resource Enforcement. You want to respond to Honorable Freeland's comments, questions?
Leo Watson, the Department of Agriculture, has indicated all livestock owners are subject to what the code applies or trying to recognize. We are working with some of the 4-H groups. We have a couple that are directly involved with the Navajo Nation Fair. As a point, we can go back and look and see how and what we can do if there's a group of them that weren't informed. I would hope that the 4-H clubs are aware of Navajo code, and first and foremost had explained that there is requirements for moving and transporting of livestock and also gathering. So at this afternoon or later today, I will reach out to the 4-H groups and express that there is a code out there, and also if there's any concern over the Navajo Nation Fair entering. I believe we did address some of their concern regarding the microchipping, but at the end of the day, if you own livestock, you're transporting them, you still need to provide those paperwork, regardless of youth or not. So it's a learning curve if they're not aware of that. So we plan to outreach and do what we can with the timeline we have. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Watchman. Honorable Freeland, follow-up? Any follow-up, sir?
This is Director Wilson. I have a comment to add to Mr. Watchman.
Okay, Ms. Wilson, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. I would like to say that the last time we did the checkpoints, the 4-H participants were actually the ones who had all their documentation in order. They knew what was required of them, and they participate, as Delegate Freeland said, in different shows and stuff, and they knew we had no issues with them when they came through the checkpoint last time. And this, the regulations apply to everyone as far as stock contractors that are coming onto the Navajo Nation, any participants, specialty acts that they bring. If, let's say, the rodeo clown has a miniature pony that he's bringing in as part of his specialty act, the guidelines apply to him as well. Any event that involves livestock, if individuals who are, riding their horse in the parade, it applies to them, and the documentation will need to be provided. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wilson. Honorable Freeland, follow-up?
Vice Chair, colleagues and staff, and I appreciate the comment or the reply by Mr. Watchman and Ms. Wilson as well. And thank you, Ms. Wilson, for letting or identifying that the 4-Hers are in compliance, and that's good to hear. And I just want to make sure we give the 4-Hers a heads up too of this discussion, and I'll definitely be doing that, reaching out to them. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Freeland. Other committee members, any other questions, comments for the report here? Going once.
Vice Chair.
Yes. Yes, go ahead. Elmer Begay. Begay. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I can hear that. Thank you for allowing me to speak. There's some people out there that are listening. So even regarding this conversation that we're having, I think regarding the fair requirements, that the majority of horses that are coming in for competition are considered that they're highly dollar quality horses that people they well care, and they're well in even to their diet. They're being cared for, and these are not the Mustangs that are just off the reservation to eat either. But I think what the Department of Agriculture needs to ensure that those requirements of these feral horses that are out there where no one cares for them, all use illegal. I think Department of Agriculture needs to ensure that these requirements are applied to them. You and Hadani echo here. Because to cut it and see the about the Hayane. So that I think we're trying to aim for that. Or you they own that especially right now. The kid on it in the go in the house or you did to Haji or you just has Chris Linko or you in that either there's a concern that are out there the people that have highly paid horses to eat that they sort of will be given a lot of requirement on it. So either the people that are listening here at the next so maybe the Department of Agriculture needs to look into that matter too. Thank you. Vice Chair Walker.
Okay. Honorable Begay, thank you for your comments and your concerns here this morning. The report. So, the feral horses, population of feral horses is a huge concern for every community. That's ongoing concern, and time to time we will require or request reports from the Agriculture Department. But the grazing officials also have a hand in this, have a role to fill with these concerns on the range and in our communities. So, behind the number EFT committee will be starting. But we have another report on our agenda here today. So, we'll take your comments with appreciation, though. We'll take that advisement. Any other questions, comments, committee members? At the we will vote to accept the report. Committee members, Chairman, how do you vote?
Delegate Rick Nez votes green.
Thank you for that. Honorable Kiel McGay, how do you vote?
Chairman Kiel votes green. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Honorable Freeland texted in his vote, which is green. Honorable Herman Daniels, how do you vote? Herman Daniels, how do you vote? Honorable Stewart, how do you vote?
Stewart votes green.
Okay, I go Shane. Johnny, back to Honorable Daniels. How do you vote? Nanda.
Vice
Chair Walker.
Daniels, text in.
Okay, we have a vote of 5 in favor, 2 of them which are texting in their votes, although none opposed. Motion carries to accept the report. Department of Agriculture, Resource Enforcement Agency. Honorable Chairman is, I'm going to give the gavel back to you.
Okay. Thank you. Under receiving reports, B, report by Navajo Tribal Utility Authority on the cell tower build out on the Navajo Nation and the funds received from the Coronavirus Aid Relief and Economic Security CARES Act, the BSOKD, and Navajo Nation, Chicago, Corrosion, ask Mr. Rex Kuntz. You have 20 minutes, sir.
Thank you, sir. We'll turn this over to our communications group. Mr. Murray will be the lead. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Murray. Mr. Murray? Mr. Murray?
The chairman is, I do see
Okay.
Mr. Murray on the call. I don't know if he's having technical difficulties or not.
Rainey Nelson, are you on the call?
Good morning, Chair. Yes, I'm on the call.
Could you go ahead and start the introduction of this presentation, and then we'll go to Mr. Murray when he gets on. Or if you would, text him and let him know that he has the floor as well.
Okay, we will get a hold of him right now, Chair. Give us just a quick minute.
Hello, this is Bill Murray. Can everyone
Yes, Mr. Murray, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. My apologies. We're in a conference room and we had muted the main phone and couldn't come out of mute for some reason. But we're here today to talk about the towers going up in the Low Mountain and Jeddah areas, as well as also towers that will be built in other low population areas on the reservation. And my question was, we do have a short presentation that I could go over, but if we want the full scope of the presentation, my suggestion would be I would ask if we could possibly go into executive session now in the essence of time, because I know we only have another 30 minutes.
Mr. Murray, there are people listening in from these regions that would like to listen to the presentation. We had agreed when we approved the agenda that you guys will go ahead and provide a presentation so that people understand what's going on. If it's sensitive issues, then we can go into executive session after your presentation.
Okay, so I'll do the one pager. Okay, Mr. Chairman, I'll go ahead then with the presentation. I can also share my screen here. Am I permitted to do that?
Yes.
All righty. Give me one moment here. So as I present this, questions maybe arise, and we made sure that we had all of the subject matter experts on the call to help answer those questions. So I have brought my screen up, and can everyone see my screen?
Yes, Ms. Murray, I can see your screen.
Okay, so let's get started then. So one of the questions is, why are the Jeddah and Low Mountain South Towers not built yet? The main reason for this is because
Mr. Murray,
yes, sir.
Could you send your presentation to our advisor, Mr. Tahi, so he can disseminate that to committee members as well? Thank you.
Yes, I will do so. Do you want me to do that right now, or can I do that after the meeting?
Now is good.
Okay.
If we're going to have a presentation from NTUA, make sure that you coordinate with our advisor and send these presentations prior to the meeting. That way we could look at them and also ask questions. So if you would send it now, we would appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, we'll take care of that right now. Getting back to the presentation, the question is, why are these towers not built yet? The towers themselves, we had grant funding for the towers themselves, but the main problem is that we do not have, these towers, once they're built, will always operate at a loss financially. So while we can build the towers, we can't sustain the loss over time from the operational and the direct costs. Traditionally, we did not have the $12,000 annual lease fee that has come about since December of 2020. So what we're asking for today, and I'll go through this summary of items here, is that $12,000 annual lease fee per tower be waived. If we can waive that lease fee, it will mean that we will, while we still have to subsidize towers in low population areas, it will reduce the loss that we have. And it will help us in the long run serve more towers in low population areas. So that being said, we're asking for a waiver for the lease. The funds that we have received do not cover the operational costs, and that includes both our direct and our customer support costs. Over time, NTUA cannot stand the operational costs, the loss that's incurred with the operational costs. There's just simply not enough customers in these areas to pay for the cost of the direct and customer support costs. So as an example, in the Jeddah area, there are 234 total meters in the area. Assuming that 65% of those meters become customers, that would equate to a total of 152 homes. And Low Mountain South has even fewer customers than Jeddah does. That means that over a 10-year period, even with the waiver, NTUA Wireless estimates a loss of $145,000. Without the waiver, that cost goes up to over $250,000. So you can see that the losses are quite significant. So we'll always be subsidizing these towers and other towers like them in low population areas. So if we look at consequences, if we're not able to build the towers, the Navajo Nation would lose significant sales tax revenue. And that figure comes out to $162,000 in sales tax revenue over a 10-year period if the tower is not built. So the question would be, why would NTA build the tower if it will lose money? NTA is a not-for-profit enterprise of the Navajo Nation. We're here to help provide access to the people. And these two towers are going to always operate at a loss due to the limited customer base. And in some cases, that customer base for some low population areas may even decline more over time. So the $12,000 lease fee places an undue barrier, an undue burden on the tower operational costs, which are already, going to be subsidized. They'll have to be subsidized. So what we're asking today is, how can the chapter expedite the tower builds? We would ask if you could help by waiving the $12,000 lease fee, and also helping to expedite right-of-way in some areas. So before I stop, as far as the timeline of construction is concerned, with Jeddah and Low Mountain, we're looking at 6 to 8 weeks for the Jeddah Tower to build it once the lease is signed and the right-of-way is granted for the fiber build. With Low Mountain, we're looking at 12 to 16 weeks. So we are confident that if we could get the waiver and help with the right-of-way, then we could complete those builds before the end of the year. Now I'll just add that we have other folks from the NTUA team, from the ComNet team on the phone as well. And we also have some individuals from the chapter here with us. let me go back to Monroe.
So thank you, Chair. To your second question of the CARES Funding Act, I'd like to turn it over to Brandon or Robert to kind of explain what's going on there, just to give you an idea. So Brandon and Robert.
Thank you. This is Brandon Bitsui. Again, my name is, I'm an associate attorney with the Navajo Tribal Utility Authority. And I wanted to kind of clarify where the funding for these two towers are coming from. So as you know, the CARES Act was approved in 2020. And under that program, specifically to broadband, NTUA was awarded approximately $32 million. And out of that, NTUA was able to spend 27 million for those broadband projects. And this, and if you recall, because of the short federal timelines at the time, the funds had to be reverted back to the Navajo Nation Council and then back to the federal government. And so NTUA reverted approximately $5.3 million out of the broadband bucket back to the Navajo Nation Council. And that's where these projects, specifically Jedeza and Low Mountain South Towers, come in. They were a part of the original project listing under CARES Act. And because of the funds were reverted, those towers were not built. And then also the part of the right-of-way issue. And so the Navajo Nation Council approved under CJY 4121 so it's kind of confusing. So these are original CARES Act projects, but they're now being funded through the ARPA funding. And this was the original allocation under CJY 4121, Section 6, which refunded all the CARES Act projects that were defunded. So that's why these are called defunded CARES projects. And at the last RDC meeting, when this topic was originally brought up, there was a question about, under the new legislation that was approved by council for the full $1 billion of ARPA funding, 120 million has been approved or allocated by the council for broadband. But I just wanted to clarify that the NTUA has not received any funding and from that right now, because the projects are still being vetted out or chosen by the Navajo Nation Broadband Office and the Navajo Nation Telecommunications Regulatory Commission. So the $120 million right now, and NTUA has no funding out of that right now. We do have proposed listings for those projects, but again, that will be, we're not the party that is going to decide which projects get chosen. And so I just kind of wanted to clarify where these projects came from and kind of that history of from CARES Act and then to CJY 4121. So thank you.
Thank you, Brandon. We appreciate that report. So that kind of goes into the two items that we were talking about. Where we at with the Jedeza Tower, and then talking about where the funding situation's at. So with that, I'd like to turn it over a little bit to the Low Mountain chapter folks that are here with us that are really advocating for this. And the first one that's going to say a few words is the chapter president. So, Mr. Gandhi, would you add to this, please?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Good morning, RDC committee and people that are listening in.
Excuse me, Mr. Chapter President.
Yes.
Just one moment, please. Mr. Murray, this is an NTUA presentation for NTUA and by NTUA. So I would like for you to keep it to NTUA doing the presentation. Mr. Murray?
Apologies, Mr. Chair, but the chapter has been advised of what's going on, and they were wanting to help move this forward. So, but again, you are correct. This is an NTUA initiative. So with that, I also like to introduce one of our the intricate part of all this project is Mr. Tom Guthrie from NTUA Wireless, and have a few words said by him.
Thank you,
Tom.
Yeah, thank you, Monroe and Chair. So again, we are the partner with NTUA in NTUA Wireless. So as these towers are built, we construct the radio equipment that provides fixed wireless broadband. And through the original CARES deployed 85 sites, and then are looking at the additional 19 as part of the defunded CARES. But just to kind of echo what Mr. Murray had introduced, what we have to look at is just the number of households that are covered. And certainly both Low Mountain and Jeddah, they just kind of make the list. We can certainly subsidize it a bit. They will still have to be operated at a bit of a loss, but we try to look at it as a portfolio in order to serve the citizens of the Navajo Nation. But that's all my comments. Thank you, sir.
Tom, what is your last name, sir?
Guthrie. G-U-T-H.
Okay.
Yeah, G-U-T-H-R-I-E, like Arlo and Woody.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Murray, are you done?
Yes, I think at this point we're done with the presentation, and we can open it up to questions. Monroe, did you have anything?
Yes, Chair. At this point, we're pretty much said what we had to say, and we made our points there. We will go ahead and entertain any questions to this point. But if you want to know more about the finances of this, we'll have to go into executive session to provide you that information, or get another time with this committee to provide that information. So I'll open up to questions.
Thank you, Mr. Murray, for that. Honorable members of RDC, let's have a motion and a second.
Chairman Callan.
Honorable Begay, motion, second by
Stewart.
Honorable Stewart, thank you. Honorable members of RDC, any comments or questions? Honorable Begay, you have the floor.
Chairman, quickly, I know we have a few minutes left before 10 o'clock. Chairman, I think we got to get the land department as well on the line to discuss this particular issue. Going back up to the federal level of the funding being disseminated for the sole purpose of connecting remote area people. And then not necessarily at the federal level, get you to talk about everyone in the United States. What's the exemption of our Navajo people living in these areas? I know the latest that the United States president offered another $1 billion to connect every home. I mean, again, what's the exception of NTUA of exempting Low Mountain of not being part of these data that's being utilized to appropriate a lot of these funding? If it's NTUA's own money, they can make that argument all they want. If they can't, all they need to say is that we can't do this, and let other carriers take over. That's my recommendation. That's why I've indicated that there should be an RFP for companies that out there could be able to connect these cell tower to be established at every community across the Navajo Nation, and let NTUA solely focus on electricity. And maybe that's the problem with NTUA. They're trying to diverse themselves to go to any other business, losing focus on electricity. Not really necessarily focus on revenue generating or the Bohnet Zand Nindiego, the Shliat Etashe. I laid all the 80 in the Clatoch Dabatos in the Beso. Then hitch a hotalia, other code or Naponet Zanda that you know could go into a Hajik Agiego, the Shani. I mean, that really tells you how the NTUA thinks about our Navajo people. And then we passed the CMA 1220 almost 3 years ago. Why isn't that being utilized as well to expedite during the pandemic to connect every home? But the resolution council passed a year. And if that was the case, why didn't NTUA say anything back in June when the president's office or somebody at the local chapter making a statement to say that these towers will be in operation in mid-July? Why didn't they bring this up to the president right then? And I know that into the Low Mountain chapter are listening, and Kodo chapter officials and Linigi, they're up in arm and having the frustration and disappointment. I mean,
I don't know what he's talking about. I mean, he's just saying that we're kind of...
And now ikiton hit the nepatas not either. I mean, NTUA needs to step up and help our Navajo people. Otherwise, step aside. Step aside and let other company that's willing to help our Navajo people, especially our young kids. Just imagine if having no cell tower in the community, how many of our Navajo kids are losing out on some of these education, especially those schools that still have online online classes. I mean, come on into a ashonde, shidene, the community of Low Mountain, Shabaka Oche. I mean, if this is with your own money that you've everything else is given by the government anyway. But why is it that you're delaying or denying services to our Navajo people? Isn't that what the main purpose of your statement is? Again, if not, go step aside and let others go in and build these towers for our Navajo people. And again, I mean, that's where the regulatory commissioners comes into play as well. And I think they need to be online as well. So it's been frustrating. I mean, for the past 4 years, I've been talking about Low Mountain, Low Mountain, Low Mountain. But why is it that we're still talking about it as we speak right now? Chairman, RDC member, why are we still even talking about it? I mean, with so much funding, $120 million been set aside. So, I mean, $4 million been sent back to NTUA from CARES funding. And NTIA funding, in the amount of $53 million. What amount of more funding is needed in order to get a tower to Low Mountain? Will it take the President of the United States to say that build that tower, then that the tower will be built? Oh, a huge and not it. Law call it or ambulance call it or why can't those be in consideration? The public safety factor, the education factor, elderly factor, you name it. NTUA focuses on money. They better might as well stand aside, and those that are not really focusing on money but more of providing service to our Navajo people, let them take over. Chairman, I mean, what more can I do? What more can I need to do? So I mean, direct Ilya, can we do that right now, Chairman? And I sent an email, I sent a statement to the Speaker and the President of the Navajo Nation. Maybe it's time to utilize your executive order to establish these towers. I mean, I thought it's not this needing. As of today, I haven't received a response from the President and the Speaker of the Navajo Nation Council. And I believe a lot of these things are also more in a political position, especially in the election process. Let's delay a lot of these projects just so that the people will decide to ask them out. I thought she answered that. No, I thought but that's a scenario, and that's my thinking. But why isn't that nothing being happened? I mean, even as we speak, I've been trying to talk about the 860 road as well. That's another issue that we need to talk about. But broadband, I mean, what can we do today? How can we get the green light and say that NTUA by Ghana go out there and build this particular power? I mean, what can we do? Chairman, I'm asking, I'm pleading with you, committee members, and then I'm sure there's a lot of communities across the Navajo Nation are in similar situation. And even some of these towers are established within the vicinity of the chapter. But if you go out more than 5 miles or 10 miles, a lot of our communities are in the same situation. They don't have signals once they're about 5 to 10 miles away. You know that a lot of our Navajo people live off the road more than 10 miles or 20 miles. Asian stot neto jopa pa net ida stot cross the 110 chapters. I believe the situation at Low Mountain is in place, and I sincerely believe that there's more community members that are in a similar situation as well. At a minimum, I always say, and I continue to say to everyone, that I need at least 10 more, 2 for each of the community that I represent. We need at least 2 more towers, just so that it covers a minimum of all the communities that lives in that area. If it needs to be dropped, legislation needs to be dropped. Let that be done. I mean, I can do that, but again, there's always another case. Even I request a legislation, it doesn't develop right away. So, Chairman, I'm pleading with you to get things done as Chairman, RDC member. Can we ask and tell NTUA to build this particular tower? Chairman.
Thank you, Honorable Begay. Certainly appreciate your voice for the people of Low Mountain area, especially the children that want to use internet for their education. That is very important. The presentation that was brought to RDC as the oversight over NTUA. If you read the bottom portion where it says bottom line, last sentence, it says if NTUA does not receive a waiver on the $12,000 lease fee, we may still build the 2 towers and choice NTUA wireless and make services available to communities, Nela. So, we have about 4 minutes left of our meeting before Nabigiatis commences the meeting. What we can do, Honorable Begay, is schedule a special meeting with NTUA, go into executive session, also with Navajo Land Department, Navajo Telecommunications Regulatory Commission, and RDC, we could have this discussion there. Since it will be a special meeting, we could provide a directive at that time. So we can do that and start working on it and see which direction this money can flow if NTUA does not want to construct or does not want any allocation provided to them in the future. We will have to somehow open the doors for other service providers and give them the money to construct cell towers throughout the nation. This is a law. It used to be $24,000 annually, and other providers had paid it until previous leadership reduced it in half to $12,000. I don't see where that should be a problem for any carrier, including NTUA. We just need to have a special meeting and have our legal counsel provide some legal language as to how we can provide that directive as well. This is the people's money, CARES Act as well as ARPA. It is for telecommunications, section, broadband. Yeah. The peso night at Johut ego the night the kid. Ado onel ella peso Navajo Nation ya nei nis put ego shabandik night the kid. Intech gives money to the Navajo Nation. NAPI does too. The Quilla not nei nisla. So Honorable Begay, I believe that my recommendation is to have a special meeting with NTUA Land Department, General Land Development Department, as well as Navajo Telecommunications Regulatory Commission, and schedule this meeting and have Department of Justice as well as our attorney on the call with us, and whatever recommendation in reference to the directive can be accomplished at that time. Honorable Begay.
I appreciate the response, Chairman. I believe, again, Low Mountain Chapter are at the NTOA office. Again, I just don't want them to be misguided. I don't want them to be directed of certain things to do, but I believe that this is at the nation level, and I believe that the Low Mountain Chapter needs to stand the ground that the NTOA needs to build this tower as soon as possible without any pressure or delay in asking for them to do any other thing. Chairman, I think we need to send that message to NTOA management, and NTOA needs to build this tower as soon as possible. Chairman.
Thank you for that, Honorable Begay. Mr. Tahi, if you would add that to the agenda for tomorrow's meeting, we can schedule that and have a special meeting with NTOA Land Department and NTRC. Tahi.
Chair, members of RDC, I made note of it. Unfortunately, we cannot change the agenda that is posted on the Navajo Nation Council website. We would have to make an amendment tomorrow during RDC's regular meeting at 8 a.m. to add that to the agenda under new business, and I'll propose a new date for that, Chairman. Back to you.
Thank you. We'll take care of that at that time tomorrow during the agenda approval. Thank you. Honorable members of RDC, any comments or questions? I hear none. Honorable
Very
Vice Chair
quickly,
Walker. Honorable Vice Chair Walker. Who's this?
Delegate Begay.
Delegate Begay. This is a committee matter, committee discussion. So DDG, we're going to have a special meeting on NTUA. Delegate Begay, DJ, there's Nanagish, Ajish, Bikadani.
Just only jetted to part of it as District 7.
Okay.
District
You're
7
welcome
goes
to join
into,
us. Honorable Begay, you're
it
welcome
goes
to
into
join
the-
us during the special RDC meeting. You're welcome to
Can you-
join us at that time.
So now,
Thank
can
you.
you include maybe Budget and Finance Committee too? What's that?
Tomorrow, when we have the special meeting, we can make that recommendation to committee and have a joint meeting if the committee wishes to do that. Honorable Begay.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Sounds good to know. Yeah.
RDC tomorrow, if you wish to have a joint meeting with Budget and Finance Committee, I think it might be one of the routes to take. But if you wish to have a special meeting alone with the NTUA, we can do that as well. Since there's no other comments or questions, Honorable Vice Chair Walker, how do you vote?
Chairman, I vote green.
Thank you. Honorable Begay, how do you vote?
Chairman, I vote red.
Thank you. Honorable Daniels, how do you vote? Honorable Freeland, how do you vote? Honorable Stewart,
Freeland
how
votes.
do you vote?
Freeland votes green.
Thank you, Honorable Freeland. Honorable Stewart, how do you vote?
Red, Chairman.
Excuse me?
Red.
Okay. Honorable Stewart votes red. Honorable Daniels?
Chairman
We have a
Nez?
vote.
Chairman Nez?
Yes, who's this?
This is Rodney.
Okay, Mr. Tahi.
Chairman Nez, Delegate Daniels on his text message puts green on reports with an S, so he votes green on this report.
Thank you. We have a vote of three in favor, 2 opposed, and chair not voting. Motion carries. We'll accept the report. We're down to number 8, close of meeting. We do have an announcement. On Friday, we have an RDC meeting with CKP Insurance at Sandia Casino in Albuquerque. And 10 o'clock today, Nabakia ticket meeting. Tomorrow, RDC meeting, regular meeting starting at 8 o'clock as well, and then Nabakia at 10 o'clock. Motion to adjourn.
Stewart.
Honorable Stewart, thank you. Second by?
I'll second, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Vice Chair Walker. Any comments or questions? I hear none. Honorable Vice Chair Walker, how do you vote?
I vote green.
Thank you. Honorable Begay?
Chairman Kell votes green.
Honorable Daniels? Honorable Freeland?
I vote green.
Thank you. Honorable Stewart?
Green.
Thank you. Honorable Daniels? We have a vote of 4 in favor, 0 opposed, chair not voting, motion carries. It is 10:06. We are officially adjourned. Thank you very much. Have a good day. Be safe out there, and may God bless each and every one of you.